For more than 2 decades, I have written in a diary almost every single day. And guess what? I saved them all. Each week, I will be reading from these archives and getting to know myself from the lens of my 10, 16, 25, and 36-year-old self. We'll explore big topics such as body image, queerness, divorce, addiction, mental health, and friendship. I'll read cringy poems and attempt to find compassion for the painful tenderness of my younger self. Join the drama of me and my guests as we explore our boy-crazy, closeted, angsty selves, one stupid page at a time. Hello, beautiful humans. I'm so glad to be here with you today. I'm in big reflection mode as I'm just returning from a little weekend away in the city, and I know it's just a weekend in a city that's not very far away, but I spent pretty much 3 solid days just writing and pondering and walking and having deep conversations with others. So I'm in a state where my cup is very full, and I'm just reflecting on a lot of things. So I thought it was a good day to record a podcast. And I also don't have any dogs with me today, so that means the house is quiet, and I'm excited to be here. I had the chance to spend some time with a dear friend who was also in the city. We were there for the same event, and this friend is also a client of mine who's going to be a guest on the podcast very soon, so stay tuned for that. But I was in conversation with this friend and some of her friends that were also there, and you know, we're sharing all about our work and our lives, and the conversation about my podcast came up, and the very elevator pitch that I give when people are like, "Oh, what's your podcast about?" I say, "Oh, I read my diaries on the air." And people are always a little surprised at that. But one of the conversations that came up with somebody there who listens was like, you know, she was like, where were your parents? Which is funny because this is a question I asked in the intro of my last episode. Where are my parents? And there's a couple things that I want to sort of say and I guess get the record straight on. So one is, all of this is happening, you know, in the late 1990s and early 2000s. It's a different time. This is a time before social media, before cell phones, before a lot of the dangers we have now. To say that it wasn't a dangerous time back then would be, you know, completely ignorant, obviously, but the times were different. Another thing is that I grew up in the country, and I'm not saying that like all kids who grew up in the country experience this, but in my experience of it, because I wasn't involved in, you know, like a sports team, and I wasn't really on a track for post-secondary school that was impacting my life in any real way. Like, I wanted to go to college, but it wasn't a top priority for me, I guess. And I just had so much time. I had so much time on my hands, and, you know, a lot, as did a lot of my friends. And we just spent that time getting fucked up. And it wasn't just my parents who were absent. I think, you know, me and my friend group, we all found each other because there was like a layer of loneliness to all of us that we never talked about, but like again, this is just my experience of it. we all knew that the others were experiencing too, and that is why we were attracted to each other. The third thing is that, as I kind of alluded to in last week's episode, my parents are very close to their marriage dissolution. So in the years leading up to my mom leaving my dad, they did everything they could to spend the least amount of time together as possible, because whenever we were together as a family unit, like my mom, my dad, my sister, and me, there was so much conflict and so much tension and so much chaos that my parents both kind of just like signed out of our lives, you know. The way that my mom did that was with physical distance. So my mom took a job that required her to not only travel a lot for work, but essentially live in a different country for big chunks of time. And, you know, I have to remember that my mom isn't just my mom. Like, my mom is a person at this time. Well, I mean, always, but at this time, my mom is also just a person who is career driven, who is wanting to experience other things. And I would say that she was in a very tough situation. And I would say that being away from us was probably very hard for her. But that's the choice that she made. And I can say for myself that I didn't make life easy for my mother when she was at home. There were a couple big things that were happening at that time. One was, like, obviously I wanted all this freedom. All I wanted to do was hang out with my boyfriend and borrow the car. And, you know, my mom and I were fighting a lot. And the other thing was that because I had developed OCD, or at least the OCD that I had always had was very inflamed around my mom, because she was such a chaotic tornado of a person. And so my OCD stuff got really, really inflamed when she was around, and that caused me to lash out. That caused me to, you know, be pretty cruel and judgmental and all of that. So those were kind of the contributing factors for me that led to, like, this really tough relationship with my mom. So she just kind of checked out. She took off, and when she was home, I don't really remember us engaging very often or having very many conversations. And then the way that my dad kind of signed out of our family and our life at that point was my dad sort of became what felt like a single dad. And not only did he become a single dad, but he also was the dad of, like, 2 teenage girls that were always trying to like do anything. Like, my sister and I at this time are like, we're both so desperate for attention and love, and we're always trying to one up each other of, like, who's hotter, who's moodier, who's, like, it was just to have a open and honest conversation with my dad about, like, what was going on for him at that time is something that I'm really, really looking forward to. For now, I can really just guess. And my impression is that, or my memory is that, like, anytime I walked into a room, my dad left that room. So when people are like, where were your parents? I'm like, I felt parentless. I felt ruleless. I felt boundaryless, which is not a good thing, in my opinion, for any child. And I am a child. I'm, 17 years old, but I'm in all of these adult rooms all the time. I'm in all of these very grown-up situations that I don't know if 17-year-olds today are still facing these demons. But when I think about where my parents were, I guess my core thought is like, even if my parents had tried everything they could do to be there and to give me rules and give me structure, like, I'm not sure anything would have turned out differently. I think at some point both my parents said we have to kind of let her do what she's going to do, otherwise she's going to leave the house, and she will be in more trouble if she leaves the house. Like, if I were to get kicked out of my home, I think my parents could see in some way, shape, or form that would just be much, much worse. And I think it's very hard for a parent to be in that position. When it's two adults in the room, you can put those firm boundaries in place. Like, if you continue doing this, I will no longer do this. But when you're a parent and it's your child, I don't really know how to navigate that. And I know that there's people listening who are in this position right now, and that is how you found this podcast, and that is why you keep listening. And I don't have any advice. This is not, I'm not about to give anybody advice. I'm not a parent, so I truly don't know. I can just share my experience of what it was like to be so lonely. Everywhere I went, I was lonely. I was so lonely at home. And that came out as like anger and rage and violence and aggression and avoidance. And I was so lonely with my friends when I was out, because I always felt like I always felt like I wasn't hot enough or smart enough or funny enough or quiet enough or anything enough. And I don't know, I felt very lonely all the time. So that comes out in this journal a lot. And there are a couple there's a couple really tough moments coming up, because if you remember from last week's episode, I am in the throes of a wicked cocaine addiction in this part of the story. And at this point in the story, I am doing cocaine daily. I'm doing quite a bit of cocaine daily, and I'm doing it everywhere. I'm snorting cocaine at work. I'm snorting cocaine at home. I'm snorting cocaine in my car with my friends. And we're gonna find out how that plays out. Okay, this is a big episode, so take a deep breath, get grounded, and let's get into it. All right, I'm actually gonna start us off with a poem. This week, I usually end us with a poem, but this is just sort of, I don't know, something I sort of scrawled in the margins of this journal about halfway through, and it says, "It's so fucked up when your mind is totally blank, but your heart has just overflowed. It's hard to tell if you should give up or hold on. You can't tell if you're having a breakthrough or a breakdown. It's so hard when you stare at the clock and wonder if time is standing still or running out. Your eyes are always dry and your face is always wet. You feel like you're crawling on your feet and trying to run on your knees. Your whole life spins forward, but you are on a straight path backward. You always sleep, but you're always tired. You're always clean, but feel so dirty. Most of all, though, I am surrounded, but I feel so alone." Like, that's, my goodness, you poor sweet angel baby. Okay, so I'm in January. It's January 9th. 2006. I've just gotten home from this bender in Quebec City. Go listen to last week's episode. It's a wild ride. I didn't write so much about like what led to this, but I do remember this night where I had a severe panic attack and paranoia outburst at a party, and my boyfriend Corey took me home, took me back to his house, and was really trying to calm me down, and it didn't go well. So I write, On Saturday, I felt exposed. My lying, it felt pathological. Like I was an awful person and everyone knew it. I feel like that's why Dre was questioning my story. And that's why Mark doesn't call me anymore and told me he didn't want to hear about my time in Quebec. I felt so nervous that my secrets were out. I thought I was going to be sick. I still do, actually. Every time I see someone, I am suspicious. And I think that even my friends are thinking badly of me now. And it's been awful. Even seeing Corey, I am so worried that someone will tell him what a horrible person I am, that I'm a liar, and that everyone who hasn't been friendly to me the last few days simply must know about it all. I feel crazy. I need to stop. I need to stop the lies. I need to stop. I'm still in this pretty severe state of paranoia. And I know that this is a combination of very poor untreated mental health problems and excessive amount of drugs. So that's kind of where we're starting this off, which again, not fun to read. So things with my boyfriend Corey, who again, we have what feels like a sweeter, more gentle relationship than my previous relationship. But there is this weight between us, and the weight is because we're both extremely insecure. But the weight is really about how long it took him to notice me, or at least that's what these journals tell me, is that I do have this resentment for him that never really goes away. And I never really trust our connection as fully real because I had such strong feelings for him for a couple of years, and he didn't reciprocate them in the way that I wanted, which really isn't fair because for most of that time I had a boyfriend. But I wrote January 10th, I say, after writing last night about all my past times with Corey, I decided to call him. I wanted to say I was thinking about you and decided to call, but instead I kind of pussied out and claimed I was just bored. It was nice though. And I feel like maybe I made his day today just because on lunch, while we were walking back to the school, I decided to hold his hand. I did it consciously, ended up enjoying it because he rubbed my finger sweetly, and then later when we saw each other, he had a huge smile on his face, and I felt like there was a little spark in his step or something. So that's really sweet. I love a man who rubs your fingers while you're holding hands. But as I see in the next couple entries, I'm really back and forth on this. So the very next day I write, sometimes I guess I just resent Corey. My previous entry about Corey and all my poems to him made me think that maybe we were always meant to be together. But then I found these poems. This one is called You've Come Undone. And I made a comment about someday crossing the fine line between holding on and letting go. Have cut out on pink construction paper this poem that I wrote. And it goes, I used to tell myself that hearts are broken every day, so I guess I'll just accept that today is my day. This day came too soon. I just wasn't prepared. I could have been your everything. I would have been, I swear. But I guess to you, I meant nothing. I was just another toy. But to me, you meant everything. You weren't just another boy. At least that's what I thought until the day you came undone. I guess it shocked my heart a little because I really thought you were the one. How can you disregard my feelings, treat me like I'm not even there? You think if you ignore me, I'm gonna vanish into fucking air? I want you to know that I'm sick of it. It's time for me to call the shots. I'm sick of waiting for you to leave me here alone to rot. So since you're too pussy to say goodbye, I'll do it for you. I'm gone. I don't want to sound conceited, but you really don't know what you're missing out on. And then on the next page I say, and I'm not saying that I should have let go because then we wouldn't have what we have now, but for a while I really resented Corey. I mean, really. And then there's another poem that, again, pink construction paper, and it goes, when you were laughing and having fun, remember I am too. I cry for you no longer. And when you're putting me down behind my back, I no longer care because I'm so much stronger. When you're with your new girl and it doesn't feel right, I hope you think of me and pray. And when you're sitting by yourself, I hope you regret how much you wasted my day. When you see me smiling with someone else, I hope you hurt inside because they mean so much to me. If you ever find a 4-leaf clover, waste your wish and wish to be freed from me. Ooh, cutting. And when the salt runs down your face, I won't be there to wash it away. I hope you start to cry even harder and regret the things you forgot to say. And when you sleep at night, I hope you think of me. I hope it brings a tear to your eye when you think of everything we could have been. And then I write, and sometimes I wonder, am I naturally unaffectionate because of Dad's attitude toward me and because of my natural evasiveness? Or am I punishing Corey because of the past rejections? I just wonder sometimes. I don't want to resent him or get revenge because he didn't totally know, and he has apologized since then. So I don't know where this narrative is coming from, but I think one of the things that is coming up for Corey and I, like in Quebec, he felt like I was ignoring him, that I wasn't treating him like he was my boyfriend, that he mattered. And that's, I mean, I do not relish in that. I think that that's an awful way to make someone feel. I hope I never, ever, ever make someone feel that way ever again. But I'm justifying it, or explaining it to myself at least, by saying, well, I actually have this big resentment towards him because, again, I had such strong feelings for him for so long and he rejected me. And so now that's playing out like that. Oh boy. And then again, the very next day, January 12th, I say, last night was freaking amazing. I went to Corey's. It was the perfect evening. I got there around 5. We hung out downstairs, had good times talking and such. And then we started stuff, stuff that makes me breathe a little heavy. Then we just relaxed and his mom came home. Okay. We watched the Surgery Channel and burned ourselves with ice cubes. Anyone out there? I don't know what, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know who, but at some point we learn that if you dip a ice cube in salt and then you like press it into your skin, it leaves like a horrible burn. And I actually did this so like deep on my forearm that I have a scar to this day. It hurts so bad. But I said, we burned ourselves with ice cubes. It was so jokes. We made so many laughter-filled moments. I felt like myself. It was truly a great time. And there were other moments too, where we were so comfortable with the physical part. I've always wanted what he gives me, passion. I love when I get him the slightest bit worked up. And when he gets so powerful with what he does, and he was powerful when his fingers were inside me last night. Why are you so smiley? And he said, just because I know what I do. And then there was hugging, like we meant it, because we did, and eye contact, which is hard for me when we're intimate. But this time it was so easy because I wanted to show my affection and appreciation because I just like him so much. So even though there's these like hard moments between us, and a lot of the time that I'm reflecting privately by myself, I have a lot of these like questions, we still are, falling in love. Speaking of love, I spend several pages exploring what I want our experience of love to feel like. And this is primarily because I know Corey is going to say he loves me soon. I can feel it. This is something that is interesting to me and like has always been kind of interesting to me. I think there's like two kinds of people. And this makes sense. There's the kind of people who say I love you when they love someone, and they're like oftentimes the first one to say it. and maybe it doesn't have like as much weight, and it's easier to say. And then there are the kind of people who have never said it first, and when they think about it, it makes them panic. And like they would be comfortable if like the person that they're with like never said it to them, so they didn't have to go through that moment. I am in that second camp. Okay, so I have never in my entire life been the first person to say I love you in a relationship. I've been in love a good number of times, and I've never said it first. I've never even contemplated saying it first. And every person who said it to me first, I have felt very, very activated by someone saying that to me. I've never been calm. I've never been just present and, oh, I'm going to receive that and I'm going to say it back now. It's never been that scenario. And with Corey, despite the fact that I was, I think, in love with him, it wasn't any different. I was stressed about the moment approaching. So I started this page with, this is how I want it to be. Otherwise known as Yoda's about to list some wild expectations. Me. Do you like me? Him. Yes, I more than like you. He says this in a casual, sweet, young way. We always do. And then we'll smile slightly and look right at him, hoping for it. Him. I think I'm in love with you. And I'll whisper, you do? And then he'll nod and I'll smile the biggest smile, partly in disbelief, partly because I achieved the seemingly unattainable, partly because I love him too. And it'll take a while, so I'll apologize for making him wait. I'm sorry, I love you too. If he wonders about my hesitation, I'll tell him that I wasn't expecting to ever get what I've always wanted, to have a boy who is perfect for me, everything I want, need, and desire, who wants to give me everything good in the world and protect me from everything bad. And if he asks why I love him, or if there's silence afterwards, I'll tell him, this is why I'm kind of glad we didn't start when we had all those chances back in grade 9. Because I don't think it'd be like this now. We couldn't have this moment, because then it would just be about getting you to like me. And this is so different than those kind of relationships, because I know that by saying this, it won't become a replacement statement for I care about you, or thank you for what you do, or even I'm sorry. Because that's why I've never said it before, because I've seen that happen to people before. They say, but I love you, as an excuse to get out of things. And that's why before now, I wasn't sure what I would say if it came up between us. But it's not right to not say it if you don't feel it. And there is no doubt in my mind that I do, because I know that no matter what happens, I feel it now, and I have for a long time, and I know that I will for a long time. That's what I was planning to say in response to someone saying they loved me. Wow. Okay. And it will be such a close moment, and I will be uninhibited and add, you're perfect, and you amaze me every day, and I smile when I think of you, and I miss you like crazy when you're gone. And then I'll repeat that I love him. I have the language for this now, of course. Like, I have the inner knowing that what this is like I am addicted to fantasy, and I'm playing out these. Every conversation I think I ever had with Corey, I like played it out in my head and in my journal before we had it, including this one. So it makes sense to me. And I don't even really feel embarrassed necessarily. I feel more like empathetic to this version of me. That I think what I really wanted was, like, I actually wanted to tell him that I loved him because I felt like I did, but I wasn't going to say it first. and that checks out. Okay, this January 15th, this entry, it's it's funny because my recollection of my relationship with Corey has always been, like, for the last almost 20 years, my recollection has always been that I was the fucked up one, right? That I was the one who was horrible to him, who had all the problems, and he was just like an angel who did everything right. I don't know why that's always been my recollection. The thing is like, what's more true is that Corey was an angel and put up with a lot and was a very sweet, loving guy who I was lucky to date. And he had his own stuff, and his own stuff came out a lot. And that's his stuff. That's not my stuff, right? And so this entry makes me see that. And unlike my books that I write or stuff that I share online, I haven't really changed the names in my diary. There's some names that you've noticed that, like, I'll shorten, or there are some names that I've changed, but most of them I'm just being true because I don't think people from high school really listen to this, but like, I guess because I'm not saying anything. First of all, I'm not saying anything that's untrue. I'm literally reading the diaries, but I'm not saying anything to like change anyone's perspective on me or on this person. I'm just like reading and processing. So this entry's a little bit hard and tricky because I can see like his insecurities, and I can also see how I like lit the fire under those insecurities. But again, his stuff, not my stuff. Okay, so this is January 15th. So basically Friday, I said it was a strange day. I basically hung out with some friends and we all went for Chinese food for Corey's birthday, and we burned ourselves with ice more. Again, no idea how, why, when, who, what. And then later, so this is like, I guess the evening before Corey's birthday, I said, then Cassie and I went to Christian's. I don't know who that is. Again, I felt awkward, hated, paranoid, but I guess it was okay. Corey called me at 10:30 because I was supposed to go meet up with him again. He sounded sad, negative, like he did on the last day of Quebec. So I said I'd meet up with him at midnight because then it would officially have been his birthday. So I left Christian's, even though I was having a really good time, so I could find Corey. Just pausing here to say, what does this remind you of? My cycle of codependence is endless. He wasn't around, though. I didn't end up finding him until after 12 because him and Chuck were out driving. We all ended up hanging out. We walked around, went to the truck stop and smoked. As the night went on, even though it was his birthday, Corey seemed to grow more and more negative. He left kind of angrily. So Chuck and I just chilled in my car for 2 hours, just talking like we always do. Corey called angrily on my cell phone, so I guess he'd been sitting outside the whole time. And he said, "Are you having fun with your girl talk?" So I drove away because it was rude and I couldn't handle the thought of ruining his birthday. So as I was driving, I realized that it wasn't fair of me to talk to Chuck openly without hesitation, but not to Corey. So I turned around and then went back to Corey's. He ran up to me when he saw me. He was cold, upset, and drunk. He apologized and said I deserved better because he was so fucked up. I tried to hug him and kiss him. I said, "Corey, when I told you that I wanted to be with you forever, I didn't just mean the good stuff. I meant all of you. I want to help you. It's okay if you get like this. I just don't want you to take it out on me. Come on, let me help." And then as I was leaving, he stopped me. He knelt down beside my car And oh, wow, I swear, I just got such a bug in my stomach when he was talking to me. There's something I've been wanting to tell you for a while, but I've been kind of too much of a pussy, but I care about you so, so much. You're the reason I wake up and the last thing I think about before I go to sleep. You're the reason I'm here. I need to know you feel the same. And I thought of Chuck telling me earlier that Corey is completely content with me. So I said, I do, Corey, and I'm sorry. I wish I could show it more. I guess I'm naturally an unaffectionate person, but I'm trying, Corey. I'm really, really trying. Again, I'm in a very grown-up room here for being 17 years old. I think we're both watching too much of like the O.C. or like Dawson's Creek or whatever, because this is very dramatic. Knowing what I know now about like what unfolded after this and you know, the years following this, what was part of what was at play was that Corey was jealous. I had a friendship. We had a mutual friend, right? We both had this friend and we were all friends together, but then I had a separate friendship with this friend because him and I had a great, we had a lot in common. He was also like a writer and like we had the same sense of humor, and I just wanted to like have my boyfriend and then like have my friends, and Corey was jealous. Did he have a reason to be jealous? Well, in this entry, what happened was like on his birthday, it was the three of us like walking around smoking when, you know, probably all Corey wanted was to just like have a nice evening with me, but I insisted on like hanging out with this friend of ours. And then Corey left, and instead of like going with him on his birthday, I decided to like stay in the car talking to this friend for hours. What we have here, folks, is actually just like a very classic anxious avoidant attachment cycle where Corey is anxiously attached, and you can see in the end where he's kneeling beside my car begging me to tell him how I feel about him. And you have me being avoidant, where the needier he gets and the more he shares his needs with me, the more I pull away. It's very classic. And there's this sort of third leg of the triangle, essentially, of my friend Chuck, who is, you know, I'm spending a lot of time with, and it's inflaming Corey's anxiety. That's it. Period. The end. So the next, 20 or 30 pages of this diary is just me rehashing every intimate interaction Corey and I have. What I don't see much in the next 20 or 30 pages is any of my friends, anything about school or work, or anyone except Corey. So we're in it. So January 26th, this is just kind of like a summary of this time, the rest of the month. I say, sometimes all it takes is a single brushing of a fingertip against the right part of you to put you in the mood. Like last night, I was asleep out cold, and all Corey had to do was caress the skin on the bottom of my bare breasts, and it was enough to start intense, passionate, amazing sex. I lied on him on my back, with him on his back underneath me, and we ripped off each other's clothes. Sometimes all it takes is a smile from across the room to make me see that this is it. This is what I've been waiting for years. This is perfect. And that he is it for me. And sometimes all it takes is thinking of Corey to realize how amazingly close I feel to him, and how I am so, 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 so in love. So yes, I am in it, guys. I am I was going to say addicted to this, but like, I think what's more accurate is I am letting myself fall for Corey, with Corey, and also we're pretty obsessed with each other, and like there's a lot of other things that probably need my attention. So February 7th, things are progressively getting worse for this paranoid, mentally ill 17-year-old. I feel apart from everyone. My classes suck. And I realize that it didn't matter who I socialize with because I can't enjoy myself because of my constant paranoia and anxiety. It's getting really bad. It's on my mind literally all the time, other than when I'm with Jenny or just after I've been with Corey and everything's perfect. I don't know what it is or how to fix it, but I just feel so estranged, abandoned for reasonable cause, because I'm a liar, because I'm a horrible person and absolutely everyone knows it. How couldn't they? Even the people who don't matter, but who once respected me, or at least had some positive thought of me, they hate me now. No one likes me because they all know. And I know they all know. And that's totally worries me and scares me to death, or at least into hiding, or at least into someone else, because I'm scared of who I am. So yeah, that is not only pretty dramatic, but also really sad that that's sort of my mental state when I'm 17, when I should be at school dances and running track and field and planning for college, but I am absolutely beside myself with extreme paranoia and anxiety, and it goes on and on. So let's keep reading. It's no surprise to me at all that the very next day, things are great. February 10th. I say last night was fun, great. It was my night off. I called Corey the night before because we haven't chilled in a while, in a full week actually. I was excited, but for some reason was in a really bad mood yesterday. Not from anything in particular, but just a general bad feeling that made me want to abandon my plans for that night. I felt gross, cranky, and sad. But I tried to let it go because I really wanted to see Corey. So after school, we hung out. It was joke-filled. I like how Corey appreciates my sense of humor. Then we went back to his house, had sex twice. He impresses me more and more every time we have sex because he is so attentive and powerful and generous and romantic. I love when he grabs my face and pulls me in for a kiss, or when he hugs my entire body. The second time was unplanned. Afterwards, I couldn't even speak. We hung out naked all night and had a shower and kissed all night long. This morning, though, was not good. I woke up late. My contact was ripped. Oh my God. Flashback. Instant flashback to all the times my contacts have ruined my fucking life. Oh, then Corey, he answered the phone while we were having sex, which I was really mad about. The next day I write that I left a poem on a scrap of paper and left it in Corey's bass case, which is kind of romantic, I guess. The poem said, please don't break your bass. You're so sexy when you play. I can't wait to hear my song to my perfect birthday. I feel so blessed to find a guy who always puts a smile on my face. I feel like you're the one for me to keep me happy for the rest of my days. It's not a very good poem. It barely rhymes. But I like the spirit of it. Okay, the next post is my 18th birthday. Oh, damn. February 21st, 2006, my 18th birthday was great. If you remember from a few journals ago, a few episodes ago, I shared the story of my 17th birthday where I slipped into some alcohol-induced psychosis. So I think any birthday is great by comparison, but let's read what happened. I said, exciting, spent with friends, loved by Corey, went out, had fun. On Friday night, Corey and I went out to dinner with Sarah and Robbie. I met them there at 9:30. It was actually really fun. It was so much funner than it ever was with Gert. Corey was sweet, and Sarah was jealous. Ha. Then we went to Jeff Peltier's party. I danced the night away and socialized. Corey and I left around 2:30. On Saturday, I woke up and went out with Mom and Jenny. We went to the mall, and then to get me some wine, Mom bought me a hair straightener. And when I got home, Dad had a car stereo installed for me. That's very nice. Then I went to Corey's. We had a good time. His parents left after 5, and we went to his room pretty fast. I could tell he wanted to go for a long time for me. It was crazy, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Later, we made plans to go to Harris's. We went around 10. Long story short, everyone wished me a happy birthday. I drank a bottle of wine, and Corey stayed sober so he could drive me home. When we got home, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something annoying. And I said, "You must hate me." He said, "No, I love you." I kissed him and breathed in, preparing to say it, but then I didn't. I was almost in tears, partially because I felt bad, but partially because I felt so proud. I was speechless. He let it go and didn't bring it up again. Part of me wanted to blurt it out, that foolish part of me that is always wondering why the hell I'm being so safe and why I can't help but fall more and more in love with him every day. And that part was so strong on Sunday. I went over so we could watch The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and we fell asleep so close. It was the best sleep of my life, the way we were constantly touching and holding each other close. It was romantic and amazing. I stayed up late too, made me feel grown up. Girl. Okay, so Corey has said the L word. I did not say it back, but it didn't seem like he was like professing his love. It seemed like more of a slip, I guess. Not sure, but it's definitely, I can feel, even like though I don't remember it, I'm like, I can feel that it's coming. The next page. It's literally, I printed out a Jewel song. Please don't say I love you. Those words touch me much too deeply. And they make my core tremble. Okay, so it's on my mind, guys. It's on my mind. February 23rd, I write, I was so worried by Corey yesterday. He acted different around me, sad, sarcastic. So I went over around 8, and once we got comfortable, I asked him about it. He explained that it was because he was alone the night before and had stuff on his mind. So then it was okay. I think he just wanted to talk. We lied sideways, facing each other, and he told me I was beautiful, my eyes, my hair, and he rubbed the inside of his thumb on my eyebrow. Very sweet. So again, I'm surprised by the memory of, again, what my memory was and is and has always been, is that like I was the insecure, crumbling one, and I was, but like Corey was also very insecure and was going through a lot of emotional stuff when we were at this stage in our relationship, which again, it's not my memory. So all these details are kind of, surprising me. The next day I write, February 26th, I say the weekend. I want to say it sucked, but it was actually kind of awesome. Friday night, I just stayed home. I never got a hold of Cassie. I wanted to go out because lately I feel like Amber's mad at me or something. So it's just like friend dynamics. But anyways, on Saturday, Jenny and I chilled. We were supposed to go visit Lou at 5:30, but we didn't end up going until 7:30. And oh wow, his apartment is nice. Yes. Okay, I remember this. He moved out and got an apartment. Very small and plain, but nice. I would kill for my own space like that. Lou seemed happy, different, more calm. He gained a lot of the weight back too. He said, "I'm just happy to see you." So we left. We picked up Corey. He wasn't even mad that we were very late. I wanted to go out, but it seemed like he wanted to stay in, so we did. It was a great night. We stayed up until 5:30, talking and kissing. I sang him a little, "Oh, baby, I love your way." And he said sweet things. I don't want to mess this up because you're my baby. Gross. It was a sweet night, and it made me realize how much I love his company. More than anything, I realized that maybe, just maybe, we're going somewhere. In the next couple entries, again, like, okay, so there's two other things that I'm reading here. One is that Corey is desperate to say I love you and for me to say it back. And of course he is. Like, who doesn't want that? And I suppose I'm like playing with his emotions a little bit because I do love him. I've expressed it in my diary, but I'm like not ready to say it out loud. So there's these two times where, like, one is we're making out by my car, and we're just like at a house party making out by my car. And then he says, "Do you ever notice how we kiss 3 times when we say goodbye? Like," and I know it's because it means like, I love you, like, I love you. But what I say to him is, "Oh, it's because you're French." Like, kiss, kiss, kiss. Another time he's like having a cigarette outside, and I like essentially like push him into the doorway, and we start like going at it. And then I say, "I'm sorry I took you from your cigarette." And he says, "Actually, smoking isn't my first love." I think it's very sweet. And I'm like, this is the stuff that like was on these like sappy high school teenage drama shows. But another thing that's happening is, more than ever, I am really leaning on sex in this relationship to keep things feeling good. And I've never named that or saw that in this relationship before. I've certainly named it and seen it like in my history with other people, but I didn't realize until I was reading these journals like just how much our relationship revolved around sex, and like great sex. And I feel like he's constantly trying to like impress me, and like there's many times where I've written, Corey asks like, "Did I do good? Like, are you satisfied?" And I am also trying to like constantly make it more intense and more passionate and more like grown up. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with either of those things. Like, that's just what our sex life has blossomed into. But I am still like hyper aware of how young I am, how young we are. I've just turned 18. I've only been sexually active for like a couple of years at this point. And it's just like every entry is kind of like this narrative of like, things were awkward, but like then we had sex for like 4 hours and then everything was fine. So that's just something I'm kind of keeping an eye on, because again, it's not something that when I think of this relationship dynamic, it's never something that I think of. But now reading these diaries, I see like what a big part it played. So I do write 2 entries. One is about Gert, which I haven't barely mentioned him in a while. But I say, sometimes I think I destroyed Gert. I completely gave up on him, abandoned him completely when things got difficult. Other times, I think I did both of us a favor, because maybe breaking his heart was justified because things were just so difficult for us for so long. I don't know. Sometimes I get mad at myself for staying with him for so long when I was so unhappy, but sometimes I miss him. And then on another page, I write a letter to Corey. This is sometime around like mid-March. I say, "Dear Corey, I hate how you worry about me. It makes me feel small, but I love that there's a person out there who cares that much about me. I hate how you don't let me hide when I want to, when you force me to look at you when all I want to do is not exist, but I love how you won't let me be stubborn and to work to fix it. I hate how you make me smile when I am just that miserable. I hate that you have that power over me, but I love that you can ruin my bad mood all the time. I hate how you had plans to go away, and now you don't because of me, but I love that you are willing to change who you are to make me happy. I love that you are willing to change who you are to make me happy. Oh my goodness. That is so sad. And also, like, I am mistaking dysfunction for romance. Like, it is my goddamn job. It's just, yeah, that's really sad. And also, what else is young love for? Whenever I read stuff like that, I'm like, are the young people doing it differently these days? I don't like have any teenagers in my life, so like I really don't know, but I'm curious because yeah, that's just kind of crazy. Okay. I'm nearing the end of this journal, and this one I have to read because it starts with, last night was the strangest night ever, March 19th, 2006. It actually started out okay. I got pretty drunk, chilled with Amber, Coop, Red, Janelle. It was a fun-filled night until things got fucked up. I'm not exactly sure what made me want to leave so bad. If it was Corey being weird, or if I was just being a mag or being paranoid, or everyone else. I'm not sure, but I do know that I screamed at Amber, who tried to rip my keys away from me. I just want to go home. I hate it here, I said. She hugged me, and so did Harris, and I cried on the couch as they told me they loved me. And I bawled and bawled and bawled. I begged Corey to take me home. I lied in his bed and just cried. I feel so paranoid all the time, and this is why I never want to go out. This is why I never want to go to school. And he hugged me and let me cry, and even though I was so mean, I think he knew how hard this was for me. And then I said, "Why are you so good to me?" And he said, "I'm scared to tell you." Yeah, so had a little meltdown, had a little alcohol-induced meltdown at a party the next day, March 20th. Corey, I write a little dialogue between us. He says, L or Y? And I said, I picked Y. And he said, well, they both go together. Love you. And I said, who does? And he said, well, that's where the I comes in. I love you. That is so fucking corny. Oh my God. And at first, I didn't say anything. And then he got sad, apologized, and said he didn't mean it. He tried to be normal, I could tell. I tried to explain it to him, but then we just lay in silence. So I said, Corey, did you really mean that, or do you want to take it back? And he said, no, I meant it. And then we kissed, and I told him I was glad. And I told him the reason I didn't say anything was because I finally had everything in the world that I wanted and needed. I guess I'm just scared sometimes when I think of how long I felt this way, and it trips me out just thinking of you telling me that, and it scares me because I know I love you too. He said, I almost blurted it out so many times. And I said, if you only knew how many times I stopped myself from saying it. And maybe he's going to make me believe in it, because sometimes, actually all of the time, I think of Corey more than I have ever thought about another person, and it's always good, amazing things. So I left him a note this morning that said, you're the best, really, and I love you, really, really. Okay, well, we've dropped the L word. Okay. Oh my God, that's so crazy. Okay, that's so corny. Like, it's, again, I can see Corey like trying so hard to say it and just like get it out for like months at this point. So like, I'm proud of us that we have crossed this threshold and we no longer have to like do this crazy dance. But my goodness, the dysfunction in this relationship is so glaring to me. And again, I really didn't know that was such a big part of our relationship dynamic until now. Well, obviously I did, but I didn't know the extent at which it was thriving. So I am nearing the end of this journal. There's just a few pages left. The next page, I have glued a newspaper article. The newspaper article says, gang attack set up online. And this was a really scary moment where we had just gotten back from this fundraiser for our prom. So it's the springtime, and obviously, like, we're going to be graduating soon. And we have, gone bowling to raise funds for our prom. And when we got back, I remember going to, like, a party after, and there were some girls there that were crying. And I just remember them talking about how, like, their boyfriends, like our group of friends essentially, had beaten someone to the point of, like, hospitalization. And that was obviously scary because, like, when you're in a room with people that you know have just, like, committed a violent crime, like, obviously you don't know, like, what it's a volatile feeling of, like, what else could they do? You know what I mean? So basically, the article says that a brutal gang-style attack that sent a Dorchester teen to hospital Tuesday night was orchestrated using cell phones, text messaging, and MSN technology. Several teens, some wielding weapons, attacked a 17-year-old male Tuesday night after luring him from his home. The assault stemmed from an outstanding debt owed by the 17-year-old. The victim was taken to the hospital with serious injuries. The mob-style assault came just months after police swarmed a small community center in Dorchester after receiving a tip that a violent battle between London and Dorchester teens was going to erupt. There were some charges. I won't list their names here, obviously, but two of my friends were charged with assault with a weapon. Two other teens, one age 15 and one 17, also face assault charges. So basically, the gentleman who was put in the hospital was also a friend of mine, and the debt that they're talking about was basically just drug money, and he owed, one of the dealers some money, and he didn't pay up, so my friends all went and, like, beat the fuck out of him. And again, these people who were charged in this attack were, like, the boyfriends of my friends. So it was a very, like, scary, precarious situation. But reading this entry, I realized what I thought was, like, the most strange about it, and what frightened me the most was that we had come back from this fundraiser for our prom where we went bowling, and this was, like, the aftermath. So just, like, the dichotomy of that, I thought was really sad and hard to read. I end this journal on a letter that I think is very fitting, where I say, it's March 27th, and I say, I have no reason to be thinking of you right now, but I am, and I smile because I love you so much, more than I care to explain, except to say, when I enter a room, the first thing I do is imagine you in it, and that when I think of you, which is often, I always imagine the way we are, which is perfect, and I smile. And I fall asleep every night because I feel your kiss when you're not around, and that I cry when I think of us not together. And I know that I can be cold, sometimes distant, unaffectionate, not at all as in love with you as I write to you now. But please know that I do love you, that is, so much. Yep, your girl's in love, and, like, also going through the most angsty season of life that has ever been, I feel. I'm excited to put this episode out because, again, I think there's been some real like findings for me through reading this journal. What is about to happen in the next series of journals is basically I graduate from high school. There's a prom, and there's this one other passage that maybe that I just found that's just a little bit before the one that I just read, where Corey basically asked me to prom, and he says, I was never going to go to prom. I knew that in grade 9, but that was just because I didn't have the perfect person to go with, and now I do. So Corey and I are going to prom together, and then we graduate, and then a series of events happens that leads me to not going to college. And then, and then life happens, and then I'm a real adult. So I'm excited to get into that. I've had some thoughts lately about breaking up this series. I was thinking it might be time to read my diaries from my time in Australia. So when I was in my early 20s, I go to Australia, and I thought that would be interesting to read just to break this time up. But I also have some exciting guests coming on the podcast soon. I know I've been promising you all an episode with my dad, and my dad is confirmed as a guest on the podcast. That episode should be coming out soon. And I'm also having a couple other writer friends come on the podcast. So maybe it will just be naturally broken up anyways. And maybe you all don't need me to break up these episodes and seasons of life. For me, it gets to feel kind of heavy just to relive a couple weeks ago when I was recording the diaries of when, Lewis's suicide attempt happened. And yeah, it's not easy. This podcast is not always easy. Sometimes it's funny, and I'm glad I can laugh at a lot of myself. And sometimes these rememberings and recollections and realizations that I have about how things really went down, not how they have always sort of lingered in my mind, it's a bit of an upheaval for me. And so I want to just take my time and do things in a way that feels really roomy for me. So I hope as a listener that feels roomy for you as well, and that you take good care after listening to this. And thank you so much for listening. I've gotten some really nice comments on the podcast lately. So thank you all so much for being here. If you are somebody who has a journal that you want to read live on the air, please reach out. I love to have just random people as guests on the pod. But also, if you are somebody who wants to start a robust journaling practice or a writing practice or write a book, I'm here for that too. I help people finish and edit and publish their stories every single day over at www.doulaofwords.com. And I would be so happy to chat with you. And again, thank you so much for listening. Take good care and big, big love.